I'm going to give you a major treat as Glarzok, a supreme ruler who could give you a little insight into the world of supreme rulers. But we'll wait till some people jump on board here, and then we will go further. I hope everybody had an awesome 4th of July. Very mellow over here in the land of Glarzok, father of Xenu, obviously. And what we're talking about today is the analogy between Scientology, David Miscavige, Biden, and Trump. Because there are some things that we can learn. And as a supreme ruler and father of Xenu, founder of Scientology, unlike the claims of the late L. Ron, Scientologists are like Biden. Okay, here's the analogy. Most Scientologists are like Biden, and David Miscavige is like Trump. And how could this be the case? Well, Trump is the cunning egomaniac, desiring power and promising to make everything amazing. Little bit like little Davy. And then we have all the clueless Scientologists, many suffering from elder abuse, like our great president, and going through the motions half-heartedly. Not a lot of passion in their movements. So what's better? The evil egomaniac or the person who can barely remember their name? I don't know. That's the lucky situation that America finds itself in. So as a supreme ruler, as Elron would call it, Hello, KT Peta. Good to see you. I'm checking out the vertical thing on live streaming here because Aaron said that's what YouTube really wants nowadays, and the numbers reflect it and whatever. So I'm doing a little experiment here. That is why I am in this direction, in case anybody wonders. And so anyway, you know, the microcosm reflects the macrocosm. And the world is in a very confused place nowadays. And if you look at the situation with Scientology, and you look at the situation with the US presidential election, We have, hey, Keith, it's great to be back. You know, my day job gets a little busier sometimes, and I don't have all this time to just have fun with you guys. But as soon as I do, then I come back, right back. Um, so there's this theory, and I'm not that great at it, about the holographic universe. But it's basically like, what do they say? The whole world in a grain of sand or whatever, right? But you can see these patterns that erupt into reality, right? Into the world. I'm going to take these off for now because I can read comments better that way. So you see these patterns that come up. And I was noticing, all right, got your attention. Cool. In my view, the world is changing massively, and we're in a situation where things that used to work are not working anymore. Illusory things that used to go on aren't working anymore. Okay? And so we're in a situation in the US presidential election where we have two of the oldest guys that have ever run for president. I believe 4 years ago, they were the oldest people to ever run for president. And now they're both 4 years older than they were then. And no primaries, really. I mean, yeah, technically there were primaries, but it's like the whole United States election system kind of disappeared all of a sudden. And it's a very weird time. And both of these candidates have some mental issues, it appears, some potential dementia, whatever. Both of them, not just Biden. Trump has a lot of issues himself. And so what we have is a breakdown of trust, a breakdown of normality. And we have a lot of delusional thinking going around along with this breakdown. And so that's what we have in Scientology. We have a system that is completely breaking down with Scientology. All the orgs are empty. All the ideal orgs are empty too. There is no expansion. There is no grand, amazing expansion in Scientology. Not at all. It's bullshit. And the leader is being very delusional, and he just keeps claiming everything's great. Very similar to Trump, like, we had the best employment, we had the best whatever. Well, yeah, Dave B, what I'm saying is that Scientology is Biden and David Miscavige is Trump. That's the analogy here. It's not a 100%. It's something to play with, okay? So David Miscavige is up there like, we are having unprecedented growth. Trump gets up and says, we had the best economy ever under my presidency. It's like, when you're at the end of a paradigm, when you're at the end of a certain reality, the bullshit goes crazy. And that's what's happening in Scientology, and that's what's happening in American politics. And it seems like the American political system, like Scientology, has driven down a dead end road, and they don't really know how to reverse and go back, and there's no precedent for this situation right now. And so does Biden even realize how far gone he is? And Trump isn't much better. He just has more energy to portray his bullshit. But neither one of them, we can argue, are like a real president, like what we remember from the past, Neither one of them seems very presidential at all. And so it's just you get these breakdowns before a massive change in the system. When you have a system that's breaking down, it's kind of like everybody tries to throw the old techniques at the problem more and more furiously. And it doesn't work. And then you have a breakdown. Now, Kimberly, I'm not getting into open borders. I might touch on it tangentially, but this isn't really about Trump and Biden as much as comparing it to Scientology. So I'm not getting into all the issues between Trump and Biden and all of that. It comes down to who has the capability to assemble good, capable people around them. Yeah. And, Biden assembles who's been around him for 50 years, and Trump assembles around him whoever will kiss his ass with the greatest ferocity. Okay. I don't like either of these guys, and I'm not going to vote for either of them. No matter what. I'll vote for Donald Duck. I'll vote for whatever. And you can tell me, well, if you don't vote for this one, then you're voting for the other one. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to participate in this crap. Okay. I'm not doing it. Because I think that's what's needed. We need people to not go along with the bullshit. We need people to not jump up and down. We have many third choices, Kimberly. We have many people, there's RFK Jr. and there's whatever else. And I'm not saying anything's realistic. I'm saying this is like a systems collapse situation. I studied political science for many years, like 4 years in college and 6 years in grad school. So I got 10 years of heavy duty political science studying under my belt, my very large belt. And I think that where we're at now is one of these massive change moments. I'm trying not to say words that'll get me canceled on here or whatever, but it's interesting to me as a political scientist or former. Under my cap. What's under my cap? Maybe some brains, hopefully. As a current or former or, hobbyist political scientist, it's interesting to see the similarities in system breakdowns, okay? We're having a breakdown of the system. Why are there not new name, not American? So sorry if it's a dumb question. Why are there not better candidates? Well, The Republicans have been seduced by Trump. And the Democrats are so afraid of Trump, they're hanging on to Biden. And they're both full of shit, both parties, okay? Because the Republicans know that Trump is full of shit, that Trump doesn't even know what he's talking about, and Trump is going through dementia as well as Biden. And if, just Google it. Um, and Biden has gotten all the Democrats so afraid of losing to Trump that everybody is stuck to Biden. But they kept him hidden for a long time. Okay, they kept Biden hidden. They wouldn't let him go out. He didn't talk to the press. He didn't have one-on-one interviews. And so now I heard who kept Biden hidden? The White House, the Democratic Party. They kept it hidden how far gone Biden was. But we all saw it. Whenever we saw Biden, I didn't see the State of the Union address. Why did they hide him? Because they don't want everybody to see that he's gone. Right, that he's not really in charge because he doesn't have the mental bandwidth to be in charge. So therefore, whoever's running Biden behind the scenes, his advisors, his wife. I mean, luckily, he is being advised by Hunter Biden to stay in the race. So that's taken care of at least. Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice that we have Hunter Biden as one of the top advisors to the President of the United States? And yeah, that's right, David B. Nobody's really in charge the way that we think. Right? Doesn't it make you feel better, Kimberly, that we got Hunter? We got Hunter on the job. So that's really great, right? Now that we just had 4th of July, we can get all patriotic about Hunter Biden is advising the president to stick with it. Now, it wouldn't be because maybe daddy could give him a pardon for all his cocaine stuff. Why are they always so old? Well, they're not always so old. Obama wasn't that old. But yeah, I mean, it takes a long time to kind of climb up the ladder to have the kind of, Clinton wasn't old, Obama wasn't old, George W. Bush wasn't old. So they're not all old, but yeah, they do tend to be older. But now it's at an unprecedented level of elderliness. And so, but back to Scientology, it's the microcosm, right? The macrocosm is Trump Biden. And then we have the no big mistake thing, but I mean, I understand. We have the oldest two people running now, and they were also the oldest two people running 4 years ago, the same two guys. Coffin Dodgers, right. So we got Coffin Dodgers running for president, and, Biden looks like he's a little bit closer to the coffin, but who knows? I mean, it's like a horse race, it could end up being a photo finish. But anyway, everybody in the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, they're pretending like these are really viable people for president, and I don't think they are. I don't think either one of them has the mental bandwidth to make it through 4 years. Trump didn't know what the hell he was doing last time. I mean, he did a few good things. And some of the things that he did, it was like a double-edged sword. Okay, for example, he kind of cut the CIA out in a certain way. Now, the CIA is very evil. They probably killed JFK. More and more evidence is coming up out about that. You know, why do they keep hiding all the records of the JFK assassination? Everybody that could have been involved is dead. So it means they're not protecting a human, they're protecting an organization. Oh, who could that be? I wonder. So in Scientology, they're all acting like everything's normal, everything's fine. David Miscavige goes to an ideal org opening and he talks about this amazing expansion and you know, he just bullshits like Trump. I mean, Biden can't even get it together to bullshit on that level. You know, he bullshits through his mumbling. Yeah, I mean, he lied a lot in the debate too. Not as much as Trump, but he didn't say as many words as Trump, so he probably didn't have the chance. But anyway, my point is Scientology's over, but they haven't gotten the memo. And it appears that the US political system is over, but we haven't gotten the memo. Okay, I don't want that to be the case. And I think there's room for, you know, changing things, for improving things. In the US political system, there's far more room to do that than in Scientology, right? A reform movement within Scientology would lead to the end of Scientology. Scientology, as I've said many times, it's like East Berlin, East Germany before the wall came down. As soon as the wall came down, East Germany was over. It couldn't maintain itself. It had no reason to exist. That's with Scientology. Now, America needs a damn government of some sort, and we don't need a bloody revolution, thank you very much, and I hope we don't get one. And I think we're too lazy to even have one anyway, to tell you the truth. That doesn't mean that we couldn't have fascism, that we couldn't have all kinds of bad stuff happening. But we have a fundamental breakdown of trust. Okay, so David Miscavige is like Trump. Scientologists that are brainwashed into the bullshit, they're like Biden, suffering from elder abuse, being driven around in vans or Air Force One, and, you know, being pointed in the direction of whatever and set off to do their duty. Okay. And again, it's like the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm. So it's interesting how the breakdown of Scientology is being reflected in the breakdown of the presidential election. It's interesting that we are in an era where these old structures are falling apart. Church attendance in all religions is down. Now, Scientology is not really a religion, so I'm not counting it in that way. But people are not believing in these hierarchical structures. People are pulling their energy out of these hierarchies. They're not interested anymore. And there's no energy in it. It's flat. And so that you can see that in the presidential election. I've never seen a presidential election like this, where we had two anointed candidates, no real primary season, no big political season. I remember, like, whatever, a long 30 years ago, whatever, when I got married to a foreigner, and I told her, like, there's a political situation. There is a presidential election coming up. And I said, I'm going to be glued to the TV for the next 6 months. Okay. Sorry, you're going to have to deal with this shit every 4 years. I'm going to be watching the primaries, the convention, the leading up to the election. You know, I've been a political junkie much of my life, right? But now it's like, it's a joke. What is there to watch? Trump giving some nonsensical speech, just blabbing on about who knows what, and Biden not really doing anything. Um, it's like Biden's just hiding in the White House. Now Biden has announced he's not going to be doing anything after 8 o'clock at night, and he needs more rest. But then the news is that he sleeps till like 10 in the morning. Yeah, ham it up again. You're right. The election is a joke. It is totally farcical. It is a signal to me of the end of an era, the end of something. RFK Jr., yeah. I mean, I can understand that. There's a lot of crazy in that dude too. But compared to the other two, I don't know. I mean, I do enjoy somebody who fights against big pharma. At the risk of sounding like I'm aligned with Scientology on that level, I'll take that chance. Um, but RFK Jr. does come up with some crazy shit. So I can't get 100, I'll probably vote for like the Green Party or some shit like that. I'm voting a protest vote. I don't know that I would vote for RFK Jr. Yeah, defend democracy. But the thing is, what we have now is we have a system where even this whole issue of whether Biden is going to drop out, is that what I said? Even if this question of Biden dropping out, what it is? Well, it is a corporocracy, whatever. Corporateocracy, yeah, corporocracy. I don't know the word, but corporatocracy. But anyway, I think we're already there. What I was going to say is the whole question of whether he's going to drop out of the race is coming down to the donors, the big donors. Why the hell are the big donors the deciders of this thing? Because they run the shit. That's why. Of course they're the deciders. Shouldn't be a shock to anybody. So we're in a situation where people are checking out of this whole political situation. How can you be strongly for Biden? Like, who is out there passionately backing Biden? I don't see it. Yeah, maybe Biden won't lose. Maybe Biden will win. And who's going to run anyway? Well, Kamala Harris is less popular than Biden, but they're not going to be able to get rid of her because you're going to take the first female vice president of color, and then you're going to get rid of her, skip over her, and what? Put somebody else in? That's like a poison pill if I ever heard one. Look, I don't want Trump to win. I think that would be a disaster. but I can't support Biden because I think this is a slap in the face to the world. And I think it's almost like a coup of the Democratic Party that they've been able to not have primaries and just get this guy in there. And then he implodes on the debate stage. And now everybody's like, oh, it seems that, that he's kind of lost it. Oh, really? You just figured that out, huh? Well, I think that's been kind of clear for a while. Um, so I don't think that should be big news to anybody. But what happens is when you don't bend, you break. And that's where we're at. That's where Scientology is at. Scientology cannot bend because they have their rules set by L. Ron Hubbard that are never allowed to be changed. So they can't bend. They can't adapt. And then how the hell's Biden going to adapt to anything? He's not even really clear of what's going on, I'm sure. Well, Lupe, I think the stuttering thing, it might have some validity, but to me, it sounds like a talking point that all of a sudden, when Biden was losing his mind 4 years ago, oh, his stuttering came back from when he was 5 years old. Really? Is that how stuttering works? I don't know. I'm not a stutter doctor. Okay. Yeah, Squirrel Web, I get it. The impact of not supporting democracy. Right. But democracy has been hijacked by the big donors, and the political parties have lost any ability or desire to truly represent the public. And there is no real party of the working class anymore. That's what the Democrats were supposed to be. They were supposed to be for the little guy, and the Republicans were for the rich people. And then we could fight it out. And the Republicans could bullshit everybody that, like, well, if we give all the money to the rich people, they'll give you a job. That was called trickle down economics. Well, Biden's going to be doing an interview today. The thing is, look, if Biden wanted to show that he was really fine, he could go out and hit that campaign trail, and he could do 5 events a day, and he could do one-on-one interviews that lasted like a half an hour. So I don't doubt that Biden can go up, stand up, and do something for 10 or 15 minutes where he appears to be fairly cogent. Yes. And I think Trump might be just as far gone as him. Lupe, I agree with you. Trump is old too. It's not really, the only difference really is that Trump has a little more vigor. Okay. Trump appears, look, most people are low information voters. That's what most people are. So they're not really able to analyze the information coming at them. They don't know enough information to know what's a lie and what's true. And so it's who appears the most confident. To a low information voter, go watch Idiocracy. Review Idiocracy. And you know, we're getting there a lot quicker than they thought when they made that movie. Um, President Camacho, next step. Um, I get you, Squirrel Web. We don't have a democracy. We don't have a working People's Party, and I get it about the Supreme Court, and it might be the best time for a third party win. Um, the thing is that we have to bust up the system in Scientology. It's what makes plants grow. It has electrolytes, right? Yeah, Scientology. It has electrolytes. Um, yeah, Lupe, I'm with you. I'm more for Bernie myself, but he's a little past his prime as well. But Bernie's one of the few politicians out there that I think is relatively not full of shit. Now, the most full of shit that I've ever seen Bernie is when he's backing Biden. Okay. And I look, I get it. I get it. I get the fear of Trump, of the January 6th stuff, of here's a guy who doesn't want to play by the rules. Here's a guy who, he's an egomaniac and he doesn't really know how the system works. Okay. And, he doesn't have the ability to take, neither one of these guys can get, a 50-page daily CIA briefing and internalize that information. I mean, Trump doesn't even have the basics. Yeah, Trump has more fight in him. Okay, well, whatever, If that's your criteria, you got to vote for Trump. I get it. Like, I wouldn't vote for either of these guys, but, this isn't about that. This is about the idea that we have a breakdown in the system on multiple levels. We have a breakdown, not just America and Scientology. We have the British system completely had a revolutionary vote yesterday. Bernie's 82, okay, right? But Bernie would be much better than Biden at this, okay? Look, they're going to have to replace Biden, or they are going to be taking a huge risk that everybody's going to vote for, not everybody, but that Trump's going to win, because people can see that the Democrats are bullshitting about Biden being so great and able and whatever. And Biden has done a good job on many levels. And maybe he didn't even know what was happening. I don't know. Maybe it's just because he has a bunch of technocrats that know how to pull the levers of power, and they are pulling the levers of power, and they have done some good things with a Congress that was very hard to achieve those things. I got it, okay? But on principle, I don't like to be fed bullshit by either party. And yeah, they're all bad. They're all bad. The system is bad, okay? It's like, again, like with Scientology, you have this egomaniac at the top that tells lies. I mean, David Miscavige and Trump are very similar. It's the big lie strategy. I'm reading you, Squirrel Web. Yeah, I agree. Biden has integrated some progressive things. Look, if Biden had his brain, I would vote for Biden over Trump. Okay? I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to act like I'm neutral. Okay? I am a Bernie or to the left of Bernie on many levels, not all, um, to the left of the Democratic Party. I am not going to go for a Trump character. Trump is the only president I've ever seen in person. I saw him long before he was president. And I saw him in the lobby of Trump Tower. And he was like across the lobby from me, getting into his private elevator to go to his apartment, I assume. And he looked me dead in the eye, like he gave me a dirty look. And I was always like, what do you give a shit? Like, I'm just in your building. Like, it's a public space, whatever. But he looked at me with this like pissed off look. And it was, it was very clear he was looking at me. There was nobody behind me. I was, whatever. And I realized later, why he probably was looking at me was because I was taller than him. I bet you that was it. I don't know for sure. It's not like he would remember. We can check. I mean, this was like 15 years ago or whatever. But I always thought, like, what the hell, dude? You own this whole damn building. You're one of the richest guys in New York, supposedly. Now we know he's not. But and you're looking at me in this weird way, like, who the hell's this guy in my building? It was really funny. But anyway, I've never seen any other president in person. But when a system is falling apart, there's a book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, Thomas Kuhn, essential grad school reading. Anyway, it talks about how you get the end of a system and how before the system ends, there's this period where they keep trying to make the old system work, but it just doesn't work. And then you get a switchover of systems. Okay. So maybe certain things need to be tweaked in the Constitution. I don't know. Maybe we need to have more proportional representation in Congress or something. There are a lot of things. Maybe we need to get rid of donor money. We definitely need to really reduce the level. Maybe we need to make the maximum donation $500 for anybody, political action committees, whatever. It's just humans can donate $500. Corporations can't donate anything. Nobody can, only a person can donate money. How about that? And 500 is the max. Whatever. Something has to change. Supreme Court term limits could be a good thing. Absolutely. And although I've been on the Democratic side most of the time, I'm looking at this geriatric rule of Democrats. Okay, we have Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who wouldn't give up her seat. Even though she had cancer, she knew she was going to die. She could have let a Democrat pick her replacement, but she held on until the very end. And then Trump got to pick her replacement. So you want to bitch about the Supreme Court? Yes, you can bitch about Trump. But what about bitching about Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Okay, you have Pelosi was hanging on, how old is she? In her 80s, whatever. Is she 90 now? I don't know, but she's pretty damn old, and it took a lot to get her out, and she's still there, but she gave up um, the lead Democrat role. Um, yeah, term limits would have taken care of Ginsburg, exactly. Um, yeah, I don't know about Harris. I think Harris, she just seems very unlikable. Um, and hey, maybe that's just a matter of taste, and maybe I'm being judgmental. I don't know. But so now let's go back to Scientology. So you have David Miscavige, who, whatever he says, all the Scientologists stand up and cheer him. So he is in an echo chamber, very much like Trump and Biden. But it's almost harder for Scientology to adapt than for the US government to adapt to changing circumstances, because Scientology has to deal with L. Ron Hubbard bullshit. Um, so, well, Squirrel Web, she sadly made a terribly unfortunate strategic decision not to retire. Where's the strategy? She had pancreatic cancer, which means you're going to die. So where's the strategy of not to retire? Why did she need to be there that extra year or whatever? Why not do something good for the... I don't think all confident, powerful women are unlikable. I think some are. And Hillary definitely is. And maybe nobody over the age of 7. I wouldn't make a rule of nobody over the age, and I won't bash you, Kimberly. But I wouldn't make that rule, because I think that a lot of people over 70 would be very capable. Now, another thing with Biden is that he did everything he could to crush Bernie. And I know Bernie publicly didn't seem to hold a grudge, but that doesn't stop me. Bernie was in line to win, okay? And a lot of people, the gossip was that when Joe Biden decided to run for president last time, that Obama told him, "You don't have to do this, Joe." Basically, don't do it, Joe. And he decided to do it anyway. Now, Biden has a lot of lying in his past. And look, Biden's the one that caused, to a large part, for there to be so many young black people in prison. And then because he made crack cocaine so punishable, that I don't know all the details, but basically, like, let's say crack cocaine doesn't have that much cocaine in it because it's made with other stuff, but then you weigh it and it's the same weight as, you give the same penalty as other cocaine. And it was basically unfair, and it caused a lot of black youth, dealers, whatever, to go to prison for a very long time. But when Hunter Biden was doing crack and his laptop comes out, oh, that's Russian propaganda. No, it wasn't Russian propaganda. It was Hunter Biden's laptop with pictures of him with hookers and cocaine. And then what did Biden say about Hunter? Oh, I'm so proud of my son. Yeah, what the hell are you so proud of, dude? Okay, you go put everybody else in prison. Yeah, well, Biden didn't do that, Congress did, but Biden, I believe, was the leader. He was in Congress at the time, and he was pushing that legislation, cracking down on drugs. So I believe he was like the main sponsor of that legislation. So anyway, it's interesting how this is playing out on the national level, and it's interesting how it's playing out in Scientology. And what I'm saying is, yes, Kimberly, total shit show. It's a shit show of what I think that we're in a kind of revolutionary era where things are changing. And in the long term, I believe things are getting better. In the short term, we are getting a front row seat onto all of our bullshit. And we're getting a front row seat to the bullshit of, for example, the molestation in the Catholic Church, which everybody knew about and joked about for decades, but then it started coming out a couple decades ago. And now it's like common knowledge. And the Catholic Church has never recovered from the losses of the molestation scandal. I used to live in Belgium for a while, and everybody went to church, and I was shocked because I'd lived in other European countries like Sweden where nobody went to church anymore. There'd be like 5 old ladies on at the Sunday service and like nobody else. But when the molestation scandal rocked the Catholic Church in Belgium, all of a sudden the churches were empty. Church attendance of all religions is going down, from what I hear. Any statistician, present your counter arguments. People aren't all gung-ho about a political party or a religion or whatever. And Scientology is that fly trapped in amber that it can't move, it can't fly, it can't evolve. And all they can do is stand up and tell the big lie. Oh, we're expanding everywhere. The golden age of Scientology expansion is sweeping the world. We just opened Chicago and Austin and Paris, and oh my God, like crime's going down in these cities, and the water's cleaner, the air is fresher, everything is amazing. Yeah, St. Patrick's is packed every Sunday. Sure. The big cathedrals, you get tourists in these places, but the average church attendance statistically is going down all over the place. Because what's happening is people are not trusting hierarchies. Look, Trump wants to be a dictator. Absolutely. And I don't think he would leave in 4 years either. I agree with you. Working. And Biden won't know what year it is 4 years from now if he's still with us. And Trump too. I don't think Trump's going to really have that ability to hang on. But I don't think Biden's a big savior of democracy. Yeah, Trump definitely wants to be a dictator. I mean, Trump, he does the same face as Mussolini, It's like, it's funny. But to me, I think we need to look at it in a larger context. And that is that people are waking up to the bullshit. We don't need leaders the same way we might have needed them in the past. We don't need to be true believers in a party or whatever. It's like back in the day when you'd have the political conventions and everybody be wearing their goofy hats and waving flags and banners and whatever, and everybody's really getting into it. Okay, the younger generations, they see that as goofy. They see that as ridiculous. Just like in Scientology, the younger generation see dressing up like a sailor man is some goofy shit. Signing a billion-year contract and thinking you're saving the world and all you're doing is scrubbing floors or whatever, living off of rice and beans and being mistreated, that's some goofy shit. Nobody's looking to do that anymore. Nobody's all excited about that kind of lifestyle. So yeah, Trump wants to be a dictator, and Biden wants to live out his lifelong fantasy of being president. And if Biden was a guy that really gave a shit about, I do remember Andrew Cuomo, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I lived in New York for a long time. So I believe when I first lived in New York, he was governor. And I mean, he was great at giving speeches. He was a bullshit politician too. And then his two sons went and did their damn clown show on CNN during the pandemic, lost all my respect. But you don't think, Adam, it's a major historical rupture. I don't think it's a major historical rupture yet. And I hope it doesn't come to a rupture. Hi, Sopa. I don't think there has to be a rupture. Okay, here's one thing. I used to do competitive debate. And every time you would debate, one part of the debate would be basically, do we need to change the whole system, or can we tinker with the system and make it better? When it comes to Scientology, you got to change the whole system. You got to get rid of Scientology, or you got to change it into some vague self-help group or some shit, right? But when it comes to the American government, you could tinker with it. You can amend the Constitution, okay? You don't have to throw the whole damn thing out. You don't have to have a full-on revolution. But the people that have the power in our government, they know that both of these guys, and what I'm talking about is the corporations, the major donors, the billionaires, whatnot. They know both of these guys aren't it. They know that. Brondo has electrolytes, like Scientology only wishes it did. Voting for giant douche versus turd sandwich. That's what we got here. Are you going to really get behind giant douche or turd sandwich? How the hell do you get excited about either one of those options, right? Do you want to burn to death, or do you want to drown while you're being eaten alive by a shark? I guess that's a lifestyle choice that we all have to make for ourselves, right? But yeah, we have to go after the money, because plenty of people knew that Biden was suffering from some advanced dementia, and probably Trump as well. Trump just has a little bit more stamina, or does a little bit more speed, so he can actually speak. Does the U.S. survive? Yeah, the U.S. survives. Whether Trump wins, whether Biden wins, because in the end, one guy doesn't get to make all the decisions. And people can choose to not follow orders. You know, I saw a thing a while back, years ago, not that long ago, but it was an army recruiter, a military recruiter, talking about how hard it is to recruit people into the armed forces. And what he said is like, nowadays, when you're recruiting 18-year-old kids to join the armed forces, 90% of them never even been in a fist fight. And you're trying to train them in hand-to-hand combat, and they never even had a fight. If they got punched in the nose, they go running home to mommy. And hey, I'm not trying to be the badass, so would I. Okay. I never was in the military. Okay, but what I'm saying, and I tried to avoid all the fistfights I could. And luckily I was bigger than everybody, so I could fake like I was dangerous. So that's always a plus. But the thing is, you can't get people. I mean, you can always get people to go out and do bad things. You know, Germany proved that in World War II. You can take a very sophisticated, highly educated society with centuries of culture and all of that, and you can always find the crazy ones that are willing to run the gas chambers. I tend to think that the world is in some kind of awakening. You could call it a spiritual awakening. You could call it a consciousness awakening. Whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't know what it is. I'm just observing. But I think old systems are crumbling before our eyes, things that people believed in. Let's think about the nightly news. How many of you watch the nightly news at 6? Is it 6:30? Is it 7? I don't even know what time it's on because I haven't had a cable TV subscription in 15 years. And so, good one, Adam. So the thing is, everybody used to watch like Walter Cronkite, and that was the news. And we had a common view of the world. We had a reference point. Oh, did you see the news last night? Yeah, that's what's going on. Now, in many ways, society was far more controlled back then. There were 3 networks, and they all basically were reporting the same news with very similar angles. And Huntley and Brinkley. Yeah, exactly. So that was your choice. Are you going to watch ABC, NBC, or CBS? Right? And it wasn't really that different. It was a slight different style. It was a different anchor. So it was like who you like the most, right? But nobody has that respect that a Walter Cronkite used to have, or Huntley and Brinkley. They're not informed. They're news readers now. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. They don't even ask questions hardly. They ask layups. They ask softball questions. Yeah, it's headline reading. It's bullshit. There's all the real news is online, and then 75% of that is crazy because it's very skewed in one direction or another. And so, and even, yeah, 24-hour news cycle, but really what it is 2 hours of news being broadcast over and over 12 times a day. barely refreshed at all. Um, you're writing in Randy Rainbow. Look him up. He's amazing. Well, I like that one. Oh my God, what was he called? The guy, oh shit, what was his name? The guy that would wear a boot on his head and say there's like free ponies for everybody. Who was that guy? Um, yeah, KTLA is putting out North Korean propaganda about La Poubelle. I think I might have seen the KTLA piece. Not so sure. What was his name? Oh my God, it just almost flashed in my head. That guy that always runs for president, and he looks like a wizard, and he wears like a rubber boot on his head and like a wizard cape, and then he says he's going to give free ponies to everybody if he wins. What the hell was his name? Somebody tell me that guy's name. No, not Perot. um, oh shit. Oh, whatever. Somebody's going to tell me the name. He's one of those joke candidates that would run for president every 4 years, and um, yeah, Vermin Supreme. That's who I want. I want that guy to run the country. I would certainly go for Vermin Supreme over Trump and Biden and RFK Jr. anytime. Put that do in. No, I think it's Vermin. I don't know. I don't think it's Vernon, but whatever. Um, LaRouche, yeah. Um, the thing is, we're at the end of the system in its current form. The rent is too high. Yeah. Is it? That's what David B. I agree with you. Vermin. Yeah, it's Vermin Supreme. Yeah. Oh, AI blocks it. That's funny. Yeah, because they know that's a winning candidate, man. Vermin Supreme, that dude. Free ponies for everybody. He talks about a new pony-based economy. Oh my God, man. We need a pony-based economy. You know how much, growth could be achieved if everybody got a free pony? It'd be amazing. Um, I agree, Squirrel Web. We do. That would be a good thing. We need a good PR person that can reach out to all the networks. I mean, the thing is, here's one thing about TV networks or newspapers or any of those. Any dealings I've ever had with them, they just copy whatever stories other people are doing, right? If one TV station does something about, this milk truck got in an accident and all the milk was spilling on the freeway, right? Then all the other news organizations report on the same damn thing. So they're always kind of copying each other and trying to get stuff. So you really only have to get one big story out there, and then you get all the cannibalization from all the other news outlets. Um, so, but the thing is, what do you really see happening on the ground? Inflation. Nobody can afford a house unless you're rich. Nobody can afford an education unless you're rich. Okay? People can't afford the basic lifestyle and everybody's in debt. The country's in debt. The people are in debt. Everything's in debt. And So there's a general breakdown. The system isn't working. House prices keep going up. Okay, BlackRock wants to own all the real estate in America and turn everybody into renters. The American dream of owning your own home is now not really viable anymore. So the only people that can own the homes are the mega rich. And yeah, okay, so it's not inflation. Okay. Um, so, well, if you look at much of America is third world by any definition. I had a friend who died a few years ago. He was from a town called Cairo, or they call it Cairo, Illinois. At the very bottom tip of Illinois, where the Ohio and Mississippi rivers meet, that town used to be a big shipping town, railroad town, and bordello town, and it is now a ghost town. And you can look at videos on YouTube of so many Midwestern towns and cities that are just empty. They're ghost towns. And you can go through, like where I'm originally from, the Central Valley of California, and you go through all of these cities, Bakersfield, Fresno, Modesto, Stockton, Sacramento, all the way up, this whole line of cities. It's all, it's like Mad Max in much of these cities. Except there are nice areas, gated communities, right? And everything that's not gated, you got zombies walking around on meth. David B. So where is this $255,000 house? That's that is a great price for a house nowadays. I don't know what you're disagreeing with, Kimberly, that you bought your house in 1985. But anyway, people could afford houses in 1985 much more. And if you bought one then and then you flipped and then whatever, okay. Credit score system sucks. Yeah. And right, the wealth gap is getting huge. The thing is, the middle class is not an organic thing. People that grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s kind of had an assumption that the middle class, this is the bedrock, this is the normal America, whatever. The middle class was constructed by the government through taxation of the wealthy and the corporations. Under Eisenhower, a Republican president, the top rate for rich people was way the hell up there, like 75%. I don't know. Don't quote me on numbers. I'm not a numbers guy. Okay. But no, Kimberly, I'm not talking about the government taking care of you. I'm talking about the corporations being predatory. I'm not saying that it's about the government taking care of, but the government has to structure the system in a certain way. And it's a better system when you have a big middle class. Okay. Yeah. Now the middle class is paying for everything. Okay. The middle class was created by having the GI Bill after World War II, where you had millions of veterans of the war who were able to go to college for free. And then they were able to work their way up through the system. And when they got bigger jobs, they paid more tax, so it went back in. Okay? It works that way. And now the middle class is being leached off of by everybody, by the corporations, by the government, by the healthcare system, by the universities. Okay? Everybody's taken a chunk out of the middle class. When you kill your golden goose, guess where the new golden eggs are coming from? Nowhere. There aren't going to be any more golden eggs because the goddamn goose is dead. So we need a middle class, okay? But neither party, I mean, everybody's going to talk about, we love the middle class. Why? Because that's where most of the voters are. And even poor people consider themselves middle class. Even a lot of wealthy people consider themselves middle class. And so there are a lot more people who think they're middle class than actually are middle class. So you got to say you love the middle class. But the fact is, everything's being geared to the elites. The real estate developments are being geared to the elites. Right, bitch Mrisker. Who has any savings for the FDIC to even insure these days? And the fact is that you have all of these big companies. The Democrats aren't stopping them because they have been co-opted by the same companies. Because, you know, if somebody who runs BlackRock votes Democrat and donates to the Democrats, then everybody's like, oh, well, BlackRock's cool then. No, BlackRock is trying to own all the real estate in America. Okay? They're trying to make everybody a renter. Because if you're a renter, guess what? You don't get to sell and get more money. They do. But hopefully, we're going to have a situation where BlackRock loses all their money because they put too much money into real estate. And then when they liquidate, there's going to be a huge crash, which is going to make all the other evildoers, but it's also going to make a lot of innocent people that mortgage their whole life to buy a house because they believe in the American dream. And then they're going to get screwed when they lose all their money. Okay. For example, in China right now, Chinese people could not trust the bank. They could not trust the stock market. They knew it was all rigged. So Chinese people decided, well, what will I buy? I will buy real estate. At least that's a real thing. So what happened? You had the biggest real estate boom in the history of the world, and they made the worst construction in the history of the world. They made buildings that literally broke down within months and were unlivable within 2 years for the most part. Elevator shafts that collapsed in, and they just, so all the personal savings of China, which went through the biggest expansion in world history, probably going from poor to rich as a country, all that money went into this real estate, and now it collapsed to nothing. So most Chinese people have lost all of their savings. Or they have an apartment that is unlivable and they still have to pay the mortgage. Okay? Well, let's hope that happens to BlackRock and Vanguard and whoever else these people are. Okay? Let's hope they get pinched like that. And let's hope then the middle class turns around and gets bargains galore. Let's hope. But let's not count on it. The one thing different about Scientology and America is that Scientology can't really reform. What could they do? Like, let's say if you became president, let's say if I did, because obviously I have all the qualifications with the Galactic Federation to be the leader of Scientology. So if I, Glarzok, were to become the next leader of Scientology, what would my move be? Well, number one, what I would have to do is throw David Miscavige under the fucking bus. Okay? I would get up and give a big speech about David Miscavige fucked you. And I'm here to make it right. Number one. Okay? If Scientology is going to reform, they are going to need David Miscavige. Well, he's going to have to go through a little process, okay? David Miscavige is going to go through a little process there. And that's number one. Number two, I'm either going to have a brand new revelation from L. Ron Hubbard. I'm going to usher in the like I've said many times before, the move for Scientology. Aliens, dude. Aliens. That's your only move, Scientology. You have to say, instead of we are the experts on mental health. No, nobody believes that. Nobody gives a shit. What you need to say is, we are the experts on aliens. Okay? Scientology needs to become an alien cult. Okay? An alien self-help, all the levels have to be given galactic names. Okay? First of all, what you have to do is, so you throw David Miscavige under the bus, which means you throw the ideal org concept under the bus. So that means you sell the ideal orgs. So that means you're rich now. Then you start, bringing in different weirdos into your mix. And, you make it a little bit new agey. You make a basic alien new age cult. That's what you do. Now, the U.S. government doesn't have the ability to do that, most likely. It's going to be hard to change from Biden-Trump to New Age cult. But the U.S. government's going to have to come up with something. Because this Trump-Biden thing is like we're at the end of the road. Something's not working. Something's not happening here. And so check out my shorts. I'm doing a series of shorts about how Biden's denial is similar to the denial of Scientology. And another series of shorts where Trump is compared to Miscavige. And so that's what gave me the idea for this today. So if I can ask you guys, give me a few likes, I would really appreciate it. And I'm going to be signing off. and coming up with some new theories for you guys. So thanks so much for being here, all of you. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a great 4th of July for those in what's left of America. And we'll see for how long. And for those of you around the world, thanks for joining in. And great weekend. Bye-bye. And thanks. I got 2 more likes just now. Awesome. I really appreciate it. You guys have fun out there. Bye.